the idea was you put it on the floor and you put your feet on it, and then you're
That's
feeling the
not-
vibrations all throughout your
That
body.
was not the idea.
Maybe that was the idea,
Feet?
but you know that's not what it got
That
used
is-
for regardless. Let's just
I
leave
think
it
it's
how
still
I
fully
used it.
supported on some sites.
Welcome to New Game Plus, a retro gaming podcast where three guys spend 7 days playing one old game and then we talk about it. My name's Dustin.
My name is Kenny.
I'm the Rook.
And this is episode 418. Question of the week: what video game made you rage quit?
What video game has not made me rage quit?
Let Nolan think for a second, because he's got so many he's got to come up with, and like a tier list of his
A
top
tier
10.
list of rage?
I'll just jump in and be just as anticlimactic, but on the other side, I'm not a rager.
You're not.
I don't think I've ever quit a game out of anger.
That's definitely not true.
A video game, at least.
No, that's not true.
That's not true.
If you're thinking permanently quit, okay, but that's not what rage quitting is.
No,
You
like,
have
Alt
stopped.
F4.
angry.
You have stopped a game of StarCraft or stopped a game of the long one, Civilization, and come back to it at a later time out of frustration.
You've done it on the podcast, like for one of the games we've played. It's not coming to me right now, but I know it.
Maybe, but I'm not generally
You're
that
not.
guy. Like, I get frustrated.
No one's
but
saying
I don't
you
think
are.
I don't think I really rage
Have
quit
you ever
ever. I don't think I've like Alt F4'd a game.
Have you ever forfeited a game of chess before you've brought it to full completion?
Sure, but that's not. That's how the game works. Like, you surrender.
Rage quitting
Sounds
is
like
built
rage
in
to me.
chess.
No, rage quitting is when you flip the table.
Yeah.
I've been closer to rage quitting on board games than I have in video
Okay,
games.
League of Legends is probably your answer. There's been a game of League that's made you like, I'm done, and you go to bed angry. I'm done.
That's you. You're projecting.
Um,
like, I'll lose and be salty.
No,
about
I was
it,
there.
But, like,
We played together.
I'm not angry.
All right. Let's go to the projector then.
Okay.
Do you want to go alphabetically and just hit the full? What's one or two?
Here's the thing that both of you need to understand. Every game, all good games include a rage quit at least once.
Oh, good game.
At least once in the
If
career.
you're not rage quitting, you're not playing.
League of Legends is a good example. I've rage quit League of Legends a bunch.
Which single game have you uninstalled and reinstalled the most?
Rocket League by Epic Games. It's the worst game of all time. Here's the flow of that game. We all three played together not that long ago, and so we play threes. Game's over, right? We're done for gaming for the night. I go to my desktop, I hit uninstall, and I turn the game off. And then the next day I say, hey, Dustin, you're going to play some twos. And he's like, yeah, then I reinstall it. Then I uninstall it again after that's over.
Daily.
So
Yep.
I hate that game. That's definitely my like overall answer. I don't rage. It takes a certain kind of game for me to rage, honestly, and that is it.
The kind that has a controller or a keyboard and mouse.
No, the kind that has cars and balls in it.
Cars
And people
and
who
balls
think
are
they're
the
good
things
at the
that get
game.
them.
No one's good at that game.
He's getting mad now.
No one is
All
good
right.
at that game.
Just thinking about it, he's already
Look,
salty. How about you,
I am
Dustin?
more in your camp, Kenny. I don't rage much, but I also don't
Model
put myself in
citizens over here.
positions to rage much. I am.
You find games that are frustrating and you hate that experience, so you'll quit playing the game. Not like rage out of the game. You just won't go back and do it again.
Or just don't play it in the first place. However, I think there's been one game that has been mentioned already multiple times in this conversation, which speaks more to the game.
No, the game's good.
And the community.
No.
Yes.
The game's good.
So
Your
maybe
heart
the
is
community,
wrong.
but y'all were the
The
problem.
game is bad, and the community is badder. League of Legends is the only game that has caused me severe anger. However, it's been a decade. I don't know how long it's been, but
You
a very
could
long.
make it.
Has it been a decade?
Every once in a while, I wonder about trying to get y'all back into playing
0%
together,
chance.
'cause it
I
be
would-
so fun. I know 0%
I would.
chance.
I haven't
No one would
uninstalled
do
it.
it
I
now.
would be there day one if you said let's play some threes.
Such a bad idea.
I know.
Such a bad idea.
I know. Somebody convinced Dustin.
Last year we played a little bit of duos.
Oh,
I remember.
gross.
It was fun.
We did, and you were making fun of us, and we were like, "Dude, hush."
We need to put down these nasty games, and we need to pick up the kind of games that give good vibes.
Oh no.
Like in our retro game of the week, Rez.
Overview.
Rez is a Dreamcast game and PS2 game. I think it came out at the same time. Yes, I deduced.
I found
that.
out actually
Yes.
since we announced it last week. It only came out on Dreamcast first in Japan and in the PAL region, which no one knows what that is, and then it only came over here on the place.
PAL's made
worldwide.
up.
On PlayStation 2.
He just dismisses all.
Yeah,
of Europe
they're
in, like,
they're not
one
real.
Fell swoop.
So we didn't ever
like,
have it on
Okay.
Dreamcast.
Okay. All right, cool. It's a Dreamcast game then that many of you listening and many probably played on PS2. I played on PS2 this week. Rez was developed by United Game Artists and published by Sega. So it's a Sega game.
Sega.
Yeah, it's a big company to
That's
put on
well
this game.
done.
So that usually means high quality. But I would argue that this game has quite an indie feel to it.
Absolutely.
Even though it came out in 2001, which is pretty old at this point. I thought it was more recent than that, actually, just having heard about the game. But it was a Sega game. It was later ported to the 360 and everything. In fact, there's a VR experience for this game that you can play on PS4, I believe, and some in our community
makes sense.
even did. Yeah, it does make sense. It's the kind of game.
Honestly, when you play this game, you're like, oh, they should have just waited until VR existed.
They should have
before
seen the
putting this
future
out.
and just waited.
Yeah, like that. This game calls for that 100%.
This is classified as a musical rail shooter. What does that mean? Well, for those of you who've been listening for a while, you might recall a game that we played called IS, Internal Section. And this game was mentioned a lot that week, actually, as kind of a reference for IS and maybe inspiration. I would say certainly. But what it means is it is a rail shooter, which means you are on a track going down a specified length of a stage, shooting things as you go down. And it is synced to or linked, the gameplay is linked to the OST, which is a pretty unique fact, and not many games have pulled that off. Maybe they've tried and failed, but that's pretty cool.
Internal Section was was a tube shooter, is kind of what we called it, but I think it was also on rails, or
Yeah, of
you
course.
were allowed to move. I
I
you were
would
still
call that a
limited,
rail shooter.
even if you were able to.
It's
move.
100% a rail
So,
shooter. I mean,
It came out in 1999, if I recall correctly, and it was Squaresoft on the PlayStation. So, like, if Rez didn't borrow from, or if Rez wasn't inspired by, which is crazy to think of, because I don't think Internal Section was much of a title like that people knew about.
Well, Internal Section did do that crazy thing where you could put your own music, upload it into the game.
But the
and,
whole
play it on.
psychedelic and
Sure.
tether the music to the action. Now, neither were probably the first to do it. In fact, I'll say this, and I'll probably bring this up again, but like I feel that this should have a home, and I bet its origins is in the arcade. Like this to me screams arcade.
really?
Yeah, because it's one gimmick thing, and there's not depth. It's really shallow. It has one thing, and it's a spectacle. So it gets the eyes, it gets the audience behind you that's cheering you on, that's giving you free tokens, that's lifting you on their shoulders when you beat a stage. That was my arcade experience.
I get the vibe of what, like, I get the argument. I do.
Thank you.
I don't
Nolan, what
picture
about
it
no,
as an
no.
arcade game, though.
He doesn't
No,
want to
I
hear
don't
the other
picture it
half,
as an
Kenny.
arcade game.
And see, here I was thinking this whole time that IS was after Rez, and people were saying, "Oh, they copied Rez." No, it's the other way
No.
around. Wow. Okay. Good to know.
Yeah.
And I do feel, by the way, Dylan, you are a hacker in an AI system trying to defeat viruses. There's no story. There's not. You are shooting your way through a computer. You're inside of this like virtual world. You're a humanoid-looking program shooting viruses.
Gameplay.
Much like, but not identical to its predecessor that it stole everything from, IS Internal Section.
Okay.
Rez is a game where you are, my goodness, a little
Person.
bite. I mean, you're not a person. You slowly become person-like.
This game's actually super relevant because AI is taking over
please.
currently, okay?
You are a bite that is going through cyberspace, and you are on a rail. You are not controlling the directions that you're moving. You're not even controlling the camera. The majority of the time, the camera is panning.
Yeah, there's some exceptions
to
there.
certain spots, and you are with your analog stick, Nolan, not your D-pad,
Or D-pad.
and the X button on your PlayStation controller. You are holding down that X button, locking on to a variety of AI enemies that come through, and releasing that shoot button and launching missiles to take out all of these enemies that are passing by through 4 different thematic areas with an unlockable 5th. And each time you are going through 10 different layers of each area. And that's key.
Quite possibly the most basic control scheme out of any game we've played.
Yeah, like even Adventure has a little bit more going on.
There's one more button.
I don't know.
There's one more button.
Some nuance here.
That is
and the fact that you can target multiple enemies at the same time.
But it's just a joystick and 2 buttons.
Right.
Shoot stacks of things. Yes, it could be played on an Atari. You know, like 1 button and a joystick.
And I appreciate that. I think that's cool.
two buttons technically.
Yes, the other one's a screen explosion panic button that is in mini
use
shmups.
That overdrive thing.
Now I will say though, basic in your options of what you can do. Did you guys feel clunky this week?
You're just going straight to how it feels.
I'm saying, yeah.
We barely got into description.
By the way, I fixed the joystick issue.
Good.
So I used the joystick this week because I think that's obviously the way to play it. Even with that, I felt confined. I felt sluggish.
Felt like you were stuck on rails?
No, that's not the issue. The rail part's not the issue. The aiming part mixed with the fact that it is a hold down, then select, then release thing instead of mashing a shoot missile at something, really messed with my brain.
The way the aiming works definitely feels a little different, but I felt like it was relatively easy to adapt to. You're kind of like holding down to turn on your targeting and then just releasing that. And so I don't know. I got that it was foreign because it's kind of inverted from the normal like hit the button and a thing just shoots or whatever. And part of what may have bothered you is there's sometimes some delay between like, I guess not visually, but sort of the button you push and then the like actions that happen because of some of the like musical interactions that are kind of forced here, which we should talk about, but like as its own thing. I don't want to get us too deep into that.
Yeah.
But I didn't feel like especially, it didn't seem super hard to navigate for me. I don't know. Dustin, were you feeling clunky at all?
I don't know if I'd say clunky. I would much rather be able to hold down X and it just auto fire continually, but that would go against what they're trying to do with this game. And so we don't need to save it for another time. I think it's so intricately linked with the gameplay, but one of the reasons that the setup is that way is because in this game, everything the music and the musicality of everything is linked to the gameplay. So you're going through. No, it absolutely is. You're going through. I hope you recognize this, but in each area you have these 10 layers. And it's not only, they call it layers, it's not only deeper layers into the AI systems that you're going into thematically, but it's adding layers of
Adding an
music
instrument.
and visual, adding an instrument almost every time until it's building up a song that it was quote unquote playing from the beginning of that area, but you don't get the full understanding of it until you have all the layers that are working there.
Which is fine. And I don't think anything we've said so far is wrong. But I think when we picked up this game and described it last week, and I was going into it, I think we had said this is a rhythm game.
The word
And
rhythm
this is
was said.
absolutely in no ways a rhythm
Correct.
game. It's not.
Wrong.
Super right.
It's
Super
you
wrong.
you are not, as a gameplay element, there is nothing musical that is happening. There's a ton of things that are happening musically in the like vibe and the setting of what you're doing, but it's all set dressing. You aren't rewarded for hitting things in time or for specifically, targeting that eighth thing so that you get a completion of like a series of notes and some kind of bonus. You're just doing a shooter, and then they put it into this thing that's got some kind of interesting visual vibe and that forces the actions that are happening to happen musically, but it's not a music game. I think that's important.
Based and true.
Well,
It is a musical game, but it is not a music game.
It's neither a rhythm game nor a music game.
No.
Correct.
No, it's a shooter.
Those are crazy statements.
Absolutely.
I side note, or in parentheses, I kind of agree, but outside of parentheses, that's absurd because even though you aren't doing things, we just recently played Guitar Hero 3. That's a rhythm game, and it is a music game where you're where to succeed, you are needing to do things in rhythm along with the music.
Wait,
here,
absolutely.
hold on. Guitar Hero is
what?
kind of a rail shooter.
Okay, it is, but here
It is kind of a real
shut
shooter.
up.
Whoa.
It's an action adventure game. Here, the game is doing the work for you. So if you are shooting the enemies that are on the screen, then it's doing it in a rhythmic way along with the music.
But
Sure.
I think that it was executed.
We're not talking about our feelings towards execution.
Yes, we are, because this is how I felt in playing it. It was described as a rhythmic shooter, and it's even called a musical rail shooter. But there's a delay in when you hold down X, select the things up to 8. I don't know if we said, and then release.
Yes.
Then travels to hit the thing, and it goes, and then that's supposed to go in line with the overall song. I don't buy it, and I beat the game. I played it in its entirety. I never felt like I got that intended musical experience. I didn't feel the weight of my shots. It was out of sync, and there was like this whole lag effect going on with the music and with the controls.
At the middle of each and every one of our episodes, we give our final thoughts on the
No, it's not a final thoughts thing. I'm just saying, I'm just telling you the experience I had in.
On a practical note, we should talk about how the game does its musical vibe, because I
Poorly.
agree with you, Nolan, completely. It's not a musical
I'm just kidding.
gameplay experience. It's musical
This is crazy.
set dressing for this shooter.
Yeah,
that
but
you're
okay,
playing
but
through.
the layers though, the instrument layers, some
Right.
of them, they're stages. They're called layers, but like you're doing things and shooting things, and then you go to the next one. Some of them
Right.
were so short, like 4 enemies, and then the progression thing comes up, and yeah, you can farm a little bit if you need to level up, but like some of them were just thrown in there to get to the number 10.
They were sure. I don't want to get away from talking through some of the musical stuff though, because the way it does that musicality, the way the game makes it work, for the shots you're firing to feel like they're part of the music is by, like you sort of said, Nolan, and to you at least came off as clunky or whatever, by changing the timing of what you have so that the actions of those things being fulfilled lines up with the music. So it's
kind of rubber banded in a way.
It's quantizing the notes is the technical term for when you like take things that are out of sync and then like sync them directly to the
Syncopation.
rhythm. It's doing that.
Syncopation.
And like
That's good,
pretty
Noel.
heavy-handedly. That's not at all what that means, and you know that.
Oh, harmonics.
Paradiddle.
Stop. Y'all are gonna make me
Lose my mind.
quantize.
But you're right. It's not you're not gonna like accidentally make a bad song because it's out of time. They catch up to.
Right.
Yeah, fine. I don't care.
It syncs it, and so anything you're doing, even from just a single button press where you're firing, it like makes a noise and shoots the thing, but it does that in rhythm with the music. And again, I don't think the goal here was to make this a music
It's
game.
like-
I literally like the producers of the game even sort of said that's not the goal, but they were
What was
going
their
for
goal?
this experience. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
I can't actually answer that
hey,
question.
Place
man.
bets now
Oh.
for Nolan's final thoughts on the on the game.
Stop. You don't know me.
I know you better than most people do. Let's keep talking about all of the musical fine details and make a riveting podcast.
Syncopation.
No, it was important to point out how the game
I'll play
functions.
Were
guitar.
y'all in middle school band, and if so, what instrument did y'all
Of
play?
course.
Recorder.
Hold on.
That's
not
not
band.
That's
middle
like
school
pre-band.
band. That's elementary school.
Oh, I wasn't a
Pass it
band
ar-
guy. No, I wasn't a band kid.
Or,
Okay.
I was the guy that like was in the friend group that made fun of them. I didn't do it. I didn't do it.
Absolutely.
I was associated with the hooligans that would make fun
You
of bands.
did music as the elective.
Play the
and
recorder.
had to play the
Yeah.
recorder, and you did hot cross buns, and then never
Kenny,
touched it
Hot
again.
cross what?
will you acknowledge it, or you think they'll find out details about you?
Hot cross what?
No, they might figure out who I am based on the instrument I played. No, I played the saxophone.
Oh, I was gonna say oboe for sure.
A mezzo or alto?
Mezzo is not
Mesothelioma is
Mezzo is a thing, but not related. Not.
not as a saxophone.
I was in percussion, so all of
Really?
the percussion.
so
would.
every 10 seconds you went.
I could have
boom.
called it for both of y'all.
Yeah,
I would
or-
destroy you in band.
That's not. It's not a competition.
I would beat you at band so hard.
It's not a competition.
I would make you rage quit band.
There are, at the end of these 10 levels, a boss. And each of the
Yes.
bosses
The mainframe.
operate differently. But if Nolan hasn't expressed it, or we haven't expressed it, you're doing the same thing from the first moment in this game to the last moment in this thing, which is holding down X or tapping X and
And then releasing it.
moving your analog stick or your target over
Right.
a variety of. You always know what the weak points are because like they're highlighted in different colors or like highlighter yellow.
Right, or extra, or extra like obvious, or firing right at your face, depending.
But the bosses are big and different
They're big.
and
and long.
lengthy.
Yes.
Because I mean, some
Yeah.
of the bosses are
Frustratingly
long.
so.
There's also one boss that is
Right,
kind of
right,
just
right,
a
right,
long
right.
Yeah,
boy, so I think that is an important distinction.
That part was weird to me.
Yeah.
Like some of them had like I guess armor. There's like an armor phase you have to get through to get to the core. And the health bar is at the top, and you're like, dude, I'm not doing anything. And I felt like I was doing something wrong.
Because they're
But-
long, dude.
No,
they
the bosses
drag.
took a long
drag.
They
time.
take more time than getting through the 10 layers to get to the
Absolutely.
boss.
They're like-
Definitely. Yeah.
Probably, I mean, not quite because 10 layers is long, but I would
That
say
stage 3 boss was
30 to
long.
40% of this game is you playing against the bosses. I think it's that
Well,
much.
it's so much.
I don't think it's more than that, but I think it's that much.
It's so much of an experience that when you beat the game with certain parameters, they give you a new mode of boss rush. So like you can
Yeah.
play through for a full hour against all
No
5
thanks.
bosses.
How odd is it that the game's only 4 stages?
Yeah, I mean this game, and I think
Short.
people that love this game, not you, Nolan.
I didn't say
you know,
animated.
complain about it being a short
Yeah.
game. I think you can.
It is
Well,
relatively.
imagine
You can beat
purchasing this probably full price, $60 at the time, and getting 4 stages.
You beat it. You beat it in less than 2 hours.
One sitting.
Yeah, it's definitely a one sitting kind of game. Although it tries to
Right.
give you some replayability for those. Who are those people that play for points?
You're score hunting, or you're trying to get like perfect, like accuracy, or
Well,
your support score or whatever else. There's a whole element here that tracks how well you do on each of these and gives you some rewards for kind of hitting some of those thresholds, but not a lot.
If you're playing on PS4 or a more modern game shooter, you're doing it to platinum the game and get all the trophies. But back then, I don't know who was doing that. Because
there's people.
And that's where I thought you were getting the arcade thing from, because it's like, it's very much a high score type of game. Like, so, I don't know. Back then,
I think it would be a perfect arcade experience. Like, it's an experiential game.
Yes. I disagree with you about arcade still, but it's absolutely a vibe, not.
Thank you. Let's
this
use
is one
that.
Of those I almost have a hard time calling this a game even, and I know it's a game. There's like you can go through the normal game in the real mode. You can take damage and lose as you upgrade your guy and then lose your upgrades, and
if you're a noob,
get a game over. But like what I found myself going to as I was playing was not caring about the game itself, but wanting to do that traveling mode, because I don't know if you guys did that at all, but that's you don't take damage, like you just go through the game and play
Internal
it.
section did it first.
Regardless, I don't care if it's like been done. That was the most rewarding way to play this game for me, because it was the mood of the game and the experience. It was the only thing that was like novel or appealing. The gameplay itself didn't do much.
That would be my jam, that mode, if the tracks and the gameplay incorporated into the tracks were bangers. But I personally didn't get that from those 5 tracks, technically, because it has an artist. It lists the artist that made the track in the game. It's like an official song, I guess, or whatever, but...
Kenny had a great segue and then just powered through and refused to let me jump in. Sort of brought it back around when he talked about the vibe of this game. There was a accessory. So we played Guitar Hero 3 and we had an accessory for Guitar Hero 3 called the guitar for Guitar Hero 3. For this one, it's a different accessory, and it's called the Trance Vibrator. And it was a custom controller made by the dev team to be... quote, placed somewhere else in contact with their skin, so that as you play, you can feel the vibrations from there. They wanted you to actually like put it under your feet or on your legs or elsewhere, so that as
under
you
your
play,
butt.
you can and they have
Armpit.
more intense vibrations than the DualShock 2 controller was able to do at the time.
Yeah, them vibes were heavy.
The concept of haptic feedback is interesting, and for a game that is setting about to make a mood, to make a vibe, it's not surprising that they thought this would be kind of funny. But the tone of this game, 100% folks took some Molly and then just like made some choices.
Sat on it. Do you think that you could find one now?
Yes.
Unused.
No.
In all caps.
No, because also, I this is serious, and we need to be careful here, seriously. But
I'm not being careful.
They came with washable, not wraps, but like a washable. Seriously, they came with a washable slip
Use your imagination.
cover.
Of course, that's what.
No,
they were trolling.
Can't officially produce this. Now, it was only in Japan, so maybe they could.
Who was going to stop them? No one did. They
had the PlayStation 2 logo on it. You plug it into the...
Yeah, can you imagine a Nintendo game with any kind of association
just some
for making it adult entertainment?
That's not what their goal
was.
was.
Hands-on way.
That is not. Quit saying hands-on.
It was not
what their goal.
It was their goal for people to go, what? A what?
Yes.
And then buy it for that. Because what are you gonna use? What are you gonna do with it? It's rectangular. You have to. It's got to go under something. Is what my point. You can't put it on your skin, on your
go
wrist.
under.
You got to put it in your armpit or something. Because it's like not. It's not like something you put on your arm. It's just a square box.
You can. The idea was you put it on the floor and you put your feet on it, and then you're
That's
feeling the
not-
vibrations all throughout your
That
body.
was not the idea.
Maybe that was the idea,
Feet?
but you know that's not what it got
That
used
is-
for. Regardless, let's just leave
It's
it.
how I
still fully
used it.
supported on some sites.
Aged.
In the same way, dad rock wasn't my particular genre with GH3, EDM is not my preferred genre with Rez.
Really? I F's with some EDM and some drum and bass. Heck
The
yeah.
only song that I liked in this entire thing, I think it was on Area 5, so the one that you have to like eventually get to, because it was more drum and bass
Yeah,
hip
that was-
hop
That's my favorite one.
than the ones that's just like put your hands in the air, put your hands in, like I don't want a DJ on stage scratching. That's it.
You don't want a DJ scratching your back. And it was that, especially in the earlier layers where you don't have the full song. It's just like it sounds not like a song at times.
No, 100%. I'm in Dustin's camp here.
Oh, really?
It's not
Wow.
my cup of tea. But you could tell that the developers did care about that. I think you can't watch this game and not go, whoever the director of this game was spent time in some kind of like rave scene.
Absolutely.
Like 100%. Like that's, it was taking that experience and packaging it in a game.
Yeah, I mean, not even the music, yes, but also the visuals. Everything about it is like inspired by rave culture and trippy culture. Like, yeah, for sure.
And I want to be clear, the song quality is far from bad. Nolan, you mentioned it just a little bit ago, but every single one of the tracks, I think there's 10 total, are from different EDM artists, like people that actually create music and that created music specifically for this game. So it all flows, it all works, it's all high quality.
High quality,
It's
yeah.
just, and it, like, it works for the vibes that you're getting.
Yes.
But I just, it's kind of like garbage to my ears.
Dang.
Yeah, it's well done, but it's a very specific style. And if you're not into that EDM electric, kind of old school sort of disco-ish rave type of music, it's just not gonna do a lot.
Nolan,
for
you want to be
funny.
in a club pumping your fist in the air?
Definitely not. But I like the sound of the music for sure. And like this was the staple genre for a lot of like PS2 era games. Like this was a very popular.
But maybe not this hard. Like they went all the way into, like, you could play the 10 songs at a rave and no one would bat an eye.
Oh,
and
everybody would be like, dude, this is trash. Put on something heavier. Like it's like an in between weird. I definitely like drum and bass way more than this, but I do like this kind of stuff. So it's interesting that we differ there.
For as much as the music tried to be integrated, I wanted more of that. I wanted more of my actions to have an impact on the music, even though it sort of did. It was in very kind of indirect sorts of ways, just sort of like adding some sound effects, but it's kind of in time. Ooh. I would have loved if, enemies that you hit, like, did something physically to the music, like, what if you blew up an enemy that was like the key change enemy, and like, there's ways you could have like done some things that even more fully tied those together that would have felt good, that I kind of felt was lacking. So I'm with you guys. High quality music, the integration of the musicality feeling like it's part of the gameplay as a part of the experience is interesting, but the music itself didn't do a lot for me, and it didn't feel impactful to the gameplay of it, and I felt let down a little bit by that.
The visuals are another really unique aspect of this game. They are vector lines. It's like retro,
but also futuristic.
not retro
I literally was
futurism.
trying to.
That's like a specific art style.
No, it is. I'm just saying. Yes.
But yeah, it's like it did feel like you were in a computer system. It did feel like
Right,
that
think
apocalyptic
kind of
AI
Tron-ish.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. I enjoyed the genre and the direction that they went with the art style. Obviously, we mentioned it fits with the music. But did you guys like the visuals?
I think it works here, and I think it gives the game some kind of timelessness because of sort of the simplicity of what it does, and is busy and a lot going on, but still is sort of barren enough that the idea of it kind of focusing on music and all of those things still comes through.
It's very Y2K.
But kind of like the music itself, I didn't particularly care for it aesthetically. But again, I don't think it was done poorly. I just think it was like an experience they were going for, and I didn't like super connect with it either.
Exact same as Kenny, no notes. I mean, it's kind of what even the game calls for, in my opinion, and it works really well with that.
Yep, it was the right choice for what they were trying to do.
I'm going to use the word again. It's an experience, and so it's not about giving us beautiful visuals or even a lot of variety of that. Like with the enemies, could you draw one of them? There's not much to them.
Planes,
but
airplanes.
Yeah, like a little bit, but like there's not much to them. But it doesn't require that. It's serving its purpose, and it by creating an experience, a vibe, and it works. Not my cup of tea. Not something I love.
We've had games before, different than this, very different than this, but that we've kind of argued. Like, this may not even really be a video game. I don't know that this one goes far enough to be in that camp, but almost. Like, I'm saying I agree with you and think we could maybe take that argument one step further even, because it's just so vibey. This one is more about the feeling you're going to get being immersed into this experience. And even when you turn the game on the very first time, it's like, we want you to feel this music and be like there's text. It doesn't say it in this way, but it's like basically put on a pair of headphones because we want you to be surrounded by this music and hear it and feel like you're in the game. And that's what they're going for.
Was something cool. There's like in the top left, there is text showing up, like a computer, like a terminal that's showing kind of like the actions happening. I thought that
like
was
code
cool.
and stuff in that kind of format, but
kind of like a heads-up display. I think you can toggle it on and off.
But it's 100% a game. Come on, like if you don't input anything, you die. Like you've got to survive. You've got to level up if you want to make the game easier for yourself, and you got to shoot things.
Well, I will say one of the ways that I think that this game has aged poorly, and this is such a unique conversation because I don't recall many games that we played where this is the exact thing. But I think age works against the version that we played, because I would imagine that the best way to play this game today is actually in VR. So
100%
this, like,
agree.
Because experience, right?
Yeah.
And so being able to, and I don't know if I've ever said that on this podcast before, because I don't want to play most things in VR.
It is interesting.
But this is one of those things that if you see it and you're in it, and then the music being right there, like so much more experiential. So yes, this game, it was actually ported first to Xbox 360 as Res HD, but then in 2016 it was made into a virtual reality experience called Res Infinite. Same game, updated, tweaks, and was brought to PlayStation VR at that time. And then since then to many different other ways. But that would be the way that I would want to play this game.
Same. I would love to try that.
Same.
And I've never played a VR game, honestly.
But oh wow, like ever even?
I've never put one on in my head.
The first time that I did was with Kenny at so I think that it's an important or interesting conversation to have, though, because we're looking back on it and saying it could quite be a better experience today in a different format than it was then on the PlayStation 2 or the Dreamcast. Interesting conversation.
Agreed.
If you do want a copy for your PlayStation, not bad, $23 used or loose, $78 new. If you want the Dreamcast version, that is considerably more expensive.
Oh no.
Did you?
Of course.
Did you price picking up a trance vibrator?
That's really funny because I'm actually typing it right now because I wanted to see how much that would be, because it's still like it's probably on eBay and Facebook Marketplace, which are neither places that I would want to buy one of these.
Was the vibrator only on PS2?
Yes, and only in Japan.
Okay. So
here's one, not bad. In fact, you can get the Res PS2 game with the trance vibrator for only $65. Buy it now, eBay. Do it.
Really? That's
Do it.
cheaper than a new copy of the game.
Hey.
But both used vigorously.
It doesn't say vigorously.
In bold. Read description. It says read description, and it's got some weird stuff in there.
Final thoughts.
At the end of each and every one of our episodes, we determine whether or not the game gets our vote for New Game Plus status, which is our general thumbs up or thumbs down. It does require 2/3 of the vote to swing one way or the other. I'll begin by saying I hated this game. And
wow.
I didn't expect to. And even when I went into it, I kind of like the idea of it, and I wanted... I'm kind of with you guys, or at least Kenny more so, on wishing that there was a closer connection between what I'm doing and the music that's being made than it being scripted. Nolan used that word. He threw it out there, but like it kind of is scripted. And so it didn't feel like I was doing much, but then... I think it was on the second world boss, maybe it was the third one. I just kept dying and didn't know what I was doing. But you could go through stages without virtually any kind of threat.
Just start from the beginning, by the way, too, when you die.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden, you're back at stage select when you die, and then to get back to the boss and continually die, I eventually got past it. So it's not just one frustration that I'm like that took me out this week. At the beginning of my playthrough, I was entertained and interested. By the end of my week with this game, I hated it more and more and more the more that I played it, and it was not a fun experience. Sure, I got better, but it didn't make my experience any better. If I were able to play this VR, it would be a fun little experience to put, or in the arcade. Kenny can be wrong on this.
Nope.
VR
but
in arcade.
This would be a fun, quick, few token experience to get the experience. You get it with it. You get the whole game within the first stage, and then never play it again. It would be, this game is not for me. I get how it's for some people, but it's so not for me. No New Game Plus status.
I do think it's worth noting some things about this game. I think it was interesting to people and did have some like influence in doing something unique and different. I do think as a novelty,
He said it's interesting to some people. That's your first comment.
Yeah,
It's interesting
I think-
to some people.
Some things about this game are
I
worth
think as a
noting.
novelty, it's notable.
Okay, you don't
as
have
a
to.
game
crap.
that tries to do something.
Did you hate it too?
But
Did you hate it?
Hate us.
This
right now.
game this game is really, it's all about the vibe. It's all about the experience. And to me, I know Nolan made a convincing argument, and I'm not going to say this isn't a game, but like judging this as a game almost feels like a little bit unfair because the stuff about it that matters isn't the gameplay stuff really. It's more the turning in the music and losing yourself in it and putting it on a big screen and just like having an experience.
Lose yourself in the music, Kenny, really?
You better.
Exactly. The music, the moment, etc.
Mom spaghetti.
It's interesting, but it's not something that did much for me. I won't be as heavy-handed in my opinion as Dustin is, but a generally positive was my reaction to this game. No real desire to get back into it at all. So no NGP from me, even though the game is kind of unique and it was fun to talk about.
There's some things to note.
Now. People hate us right now.
All right, Nolan.
My first line of my notes I laughed so hard is I hate this game.
Oh no! I think we all three hated it. Kenny was just being nice.
Listen. My main issue with the game is the first thing I said. I think the control scheme is so obnoxious. Hold down, select, release is against all norms in gaming, and the norms are there for a reason. I hated it.
No, I've got an important question because he's talking trash. Did you turn vibration on your controller and stick it in your armpit at any point?
No, I turned vibration on my Steam Deck. It was a great Steam Deck game. By the way, if you want to play it, try it on the Steam Deck. Perfect little game for that. It was vibrating.
Don't sit on your Steam Deck.
It was vibrating.
Please.
I just think that the game is frustrating to play. I think it's a great concept and unique idea, but I think they've just kind of didn't. I think the final product isn't what they. Well, maybe it's what they wanted. I just think it's not what I wanted out of this game. Historical game, little artifact to know about. Not fun. Bad. I hate this game. I'm sorry. I know a lot of people love it. That's a no from me. I'm sorry.
Which means Rez is not New Game Plus certified, and I do think we are going to make some people angry this week.
Yeah, whatever. You'll be back for more, you know it.
On our YouTube poll, 30% said yes, it's worth playing today. 6% agree with us and said no, go play something else. And 64% have never vibed out before.
Yeah, we're screwed.
Many in our community played along with us this week. Bihan said Rez is one of very few games I can say I've bought 4 times. Part of that is that every later digital release is much more reasonably priced considering its brief runtime if you just want to roll credits. But the other part is that it's a unique and fascinating experience with a trippy geometric art style that's still unique years later. Easy to grasp rail shooter mechanics and that ever-pulsing electronica presence. It's a prime example of why I consider the era between the Dreamcast and 360 to be AAA gaming's most creative and daring, trying unique and out there experiences nowadays only reserved for the indie scene. A definite NGP from me.
I'll give it that for sure.
Yeah,
I respect that about it a lot, actually.
I do wish more big game developers would try more unique and novel.
A little short
things.
game too.
I'll
Shorten your
agree
games.
with that sentiment.
Nothing wrong with that.
I won't go much further than that.
Bensum said, when Rez released, I found it to be a crucial tool in helping me through the worst of my anxiety issues during my late teens. Whenever I felt on the edge of breaking, I'd pop in Rez, slap on some noise-canceling headphones, and zone out. The real world disappeared as I lost myself in this vertical space of music and lights, even for just an hour, which is all it takes to beat the game. Although the music won't be to everyone's tastes, it's hard to deny the dopamine hit when you pass through each gate, and the music builds from a simple beat to complex auditory assault. It's a simple game, but in my opinion, one that should be experienced as there really isn't anything else like it.
Well, internal section.
IS.
I didn't like that game either, though, to be fair.
Brojim said, I have a unique experience as I played this week in VR. However, at least for the base game, it seems largely unchanged. Using VR controls to aim must make it far easier than the vanilla game, but I feel like I had an authentic experience. Compared to what is out there, Rez is simplistic, but there can be beauty in simplicity. It's very unique for a shmup, and I found myself genuinely enjoying myself. The whole trance idea is quite accurate, especially in VR. I couldn't help but be immersed in this virtual space, and there was a beauty in the minimalist graphics and understated story. I'm sorry, but I think I have to land on NGP for this one, especially if you have a VR headset. P.S. Area 5's song is based on Dune, timely in honor of the great movie Dune Part 2 I just saw tonight. Yeah. It's one of the only ones that has some lyrics as you destroy some ships, and it says fear is the mind killer, which is
Hey, that's really
reference.
dope, actually. And I do want to play this on VR.
It would be. I think it could be a fun DR.
I would be much more apt to put up with it in that case.
I think Satan was Santa, or Satan was Santa. I don't know. As the suggester of this, that's the person's name, real name. God-given government.
Oh, thanks.
As the suggester of this week's game, I've loved reading everyone's comments and reactions to Rez, and look forward to the episode airing. Rez stuck with me for one very specific reason: the absolute epic final level with Adam Friedland's "Fear is the Mind Killer" track, carrying the player through an existential journey of evolution and technology. More generally, I think its strength is it takes a known type of gameplay, puts a unique spin on it, and with the music angle, and makes a playthrough simple to complete but tough to master. I have yet to try it on VR, but at least on PS2, it's a gem. Fear is the mind killer.
I really do think a short game is cool and refreshing, actually.
Sure.
Lots of games that are way too long out there.
Oh, more games are way too long than are way too short. Wow, quote me. Thank you for sending in your thoughts on the Retro Game of the Week. You can do that each and every week to ngppodcast@gmail.com.
Rez is the fun killer. I just wanted to slip that in there.
But for now, we're going to set aside Rez, and we are not going to randomly select from our Retro Master list.
Man.
Because it is time, again, for a Director episode!
What's up? What game are we playing?
Well, I will not tell you that yet. I will tell you that Justified, a.k.a. Matthew, will be joining us as a director. And Justified is bringing a game to us that we have not yet, I believe, touched the series.
I like.
Listen to these descriptions and tell me if I will like this game.
If you will like it? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. It's an RPG.
RPG, 1998, PlayStation.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Not Square. It was developed and published by Konami.
Oh, I'm in.
I love it.
What?
We're all in.
Yeah.
This is a game that takes place. It's a sequel, Kenny.
Okay, I'm
it's
in.
Dune
Takes
2.
place 3 years after the original, and features a vast array of characters with over 100 recruitable characters.
Did you say 100 recruitable characters?
The game that we'll be playing for the next 7 days and discussing with Justified is Suikoden 2.
Wait, Suikoden.
Nailed it.
I know that. Why do I know that? Are you sure we haven't played it?
No, I'm not sure, but yes, I am sure.
You're pretty sure.
We have not played it, but it has been submitted in many a Patreon polls.
Of this.
And it's a beloved series.
Yeah.
So.
And Konami was pretty cool. So I'm excited for sure.
Have we played a Konami RPG? Maybe.
Oh, on the podcast, probably not. Actually, I can't name them off the top of my head. You said PS1 or 2?
I don't know if I said, but it's PS1, PlayStation.
Okay. All right. Putting that on my Steam Deck.
Interesting.
Find a copy of Suikoden 2 and play it along with us and Justified this next week.
What confidence.
You can also join our Discord server. It pops off daily. Discord.gg/newgameplus.
We want to say thank you to those of you who support us on patreon.com, despite Nolan disagreeing with that fact.
We have enough fans.
We want to welcome for the first time to our patron family, Clive and Jackie Lope, which is a great name, by the way. Thanks for your patronage. We want to say a huge thank you, of course, to our director level supporters, including Brojam, Super Hyper, the Kentucky Kid, Siegfried, Justified, who we're going to get to hear from relatively soon, as well as Smashing Bricks Retro Gaming Podcast, Y'all are great. We also have a large and growing list of producer level supporters that you can be a part of if you would like, including Alex alias X, Marley and Antonin, Arlen Yuki, Ben Craig, Dustin's 5 o'clock, Shadow Garlisle, Hallex, Harold, J. Robert, Jake, Jared, Jordan, Joey, Justin, Kenny's Beard, Clint, Corey, Levi, Maximum, Megatroid, Miss Muso, Not Enough Dog, Riff, Sage and Shane, Shauna, Stephen Fox, Psycho Mantis, Thomas, Turtle, Unbedavable, and Zion.
Almost.
I run out of air,
know.
and I can't wait to run out of air even harder. So join that list
To kill Kenny.
of supporters.
I miss Secret Duck of Evermore. That's a great name.
That is great.
You can find us on our social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, and YouTube. All of those links are in the show notes. Listen directly on any podcast provider of your choice. Make sure you subscribe so that you're the first to get new NGP episodes. And while you're at it, please leave a kind rating and review. Our episode artwork was created by Dave. Our video episode was edited by our friend Dylan. Our audio episode edited and produced by our friend Dan Willett. Join us next week as we play Suikoden 2. Until then, I'm still Muad'Dib.
Wow. Quote me. Dustin. Michael Scott.
I'm Mizuguchi.
And this has been New Game Plus.